Welcome to Wild Turkey Science, a podcast made possible by Turkeys for Tomorrow. I'm Dr. Marcus Lashley, Professor of Wildlife Ecology at the University of Florida.
And I'm Dr. Will Goolsby, Professor of Wildlife Ecology and Management at Auburn University. We're both lifelong hunters and devoted scientists who are passionate about hunting, managing, and researching wild turkeys.
In this podcast, we'll explore turkey research, speak to the experts in the field, and address the difficult questions related to wild turkey ecology and management.
Our goal
is to serve as your connection to wild turkey science. I don't know if I would say that we were good. That was a little bit bold on your end. Making it happen, I can stand behind that.
Well, we may not be good, but we're better than nothing, right?
Well,
what other turkey
our last
science
two listeners just left, right there.
What other turkey science podcast do you have to choose from, right? So
yeah. It's easy to be number one if you're the only one.
We've got a monopoly on turkey science podcasts.
Yeah, there's plenty of good ones that have turkey science involved in it.
Yeah.
Certainly the only one that is dedicated to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're the only ones that are, I guess, mentally unwell enough to be willing to dig into the peer review literature on a day-after-day basis, right? No, anybody that's sane is not going to do that, so.
I would just say insanely curious.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, we got Thanksgiving coming up. And,
I know. And
we haven't talked in a couple weeks, really.
I know. I, for one, am very thankful. A lot of great things, a lot of really exciting things on the horizon. I'm enjoying, this whole thing. I enjoy going all in the literature and looking and see what people have come up with and thought about and wrote about.
Yeah, we have been chatting a little bit about some new stuff coming out, too, that I'm sure we'll cover in some upcoming episodes.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking today that we could have this sort of be like a Thanksgiving special.
I like it. With the phone ringing in the background.
Somebody calling you up.
I guess.
got you on speed dial.
Yeah, it's Charter Spectrum trying to sell to me in my office.
You just boosted their business.
But yeah, no, I thought where you were going is, this is the season of gratitude and thinking about how grateful we are for all the support and all the feedback we've received so far. And, looking forward to actually, you and I started recording these episodes a little over a year ago. Because we pre-recorded a lot of our launch episodes and I think we had 3 series maybe that we recorded before we launched.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of episodes in our pocket to keep up this pace. I don't know if people realize out there, but especially with our jobs and maybe with a lot of people's jobs, they can understand it. But our job is multifaceted and challenging to balance all the different things going on. And we were both a little bit worried that we wouldn't be able to keep up with the weekly pace. But so far, we have been on it. I don't think we've missed a single one.
Knock on wood.
Let's keep it up. But yeah, Thanksgiving means a lot of things to a lot of people, and there's a lot of tradition behind it, and a lot of people think about eating turkeys.
You know what's funny is, and you and I talked about this several weeks ago, because you had that press, that I guess you call him a columnist, reach out to you wanting to do something about turkeys. Yeah. And I feel like you and I are always confused when we start getting requests for turkey information in fall, because we always think about turkeys in spring. We think about them year round, but you see a sudden uptick in the fall and you're like, what? Oh, yeah. A lot of people just think about turkeys around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird to me, because I'm thinking about turkeys gobbling.
Yeah.
And that's when I think about them a lot.
That's right.
Which, by the way, apparently in Tennessee is right now, because I heard turkeys gobbling first week in November, and I've gotten multiple messages from different people that I don't know asking me, "Is it normal for turkeys to be gobbling right now?"
Yeah.
And every one of them has been in Tennessee, coincidentally.
Yeah. Well,
So
I've
apparently
heard
they
them.
gobble in the fall there.
I guess the strangest time I've ever heard a turkey gobble was like late November, early December from a tree
Hmm.
stand deer hunting in South Carolina
Yeah,
a few
I've heard
years
them in
ago.
Alabama and in North Carolina
Yeah.
before at that time of year.
But you know what's funny, and I think a lot of the diehard turkey hunters in our audience will appreciate this, but I've had one deer sit so far this deer season. Of course, our rifle season doesn't even open till this
Hmm.
weekend. Um,
It's been open for 6 months in South Carolina.
yes, pretty much. But I got a bow sit in the other day, and it was an uneventful hunt. Didn't even see a deer, but I got surrounded by barred owls and crows, and I just kept listening for a gobble. You know, it's like automatic.
Yeah, yeah. Can't stand it. Maybe they thought you were the old turkey.
I've been called
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, me too. Well, anyway, Thanksgiving special obviously is on the minds of a lot of people, but it also gives us some topics I think that we should talk about. One being thankful to everybody out there supporting us, because I mean we couldn't do this without that.
Yep.
That's been special. I did not expect it to the degree that we have gotten it, and I really appreciate it, and I know you do. But also, we're thinking about eating turkeys. A lot of people are, and
I like to eat turkeys.
I do too. There's been some new research about other things that like to eat turkeys as well, so I
Yeah.
thought we might talk about that a little bit, because
Yeah.
we certainly get plenty of questions and comments and thoughts from the audience about predators.
Sure.
So I thought we would do that, and also I know we still have some oak management content coming. We're trying to work out a guest right now to talk about bottlemen hardwoods, which is still probably the thing we've gotten asked the most about, that we've done the least content on,
Mm-hmm.
I would guess. So we've got that upcoming, but we've gotten a few questions, at least I have, related to oak masting and turkeys, that I think we should talk about a little bit if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good.
So I guess we could just...
You're going to make me pull up. I just closed my email app because I didn't want it dinging in the background, but I've got to pull it up to look at this one email relevant to the oak masting stuff that you just brought up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought, to show our thanks to our audience, we could cover some of these questions that are coming in. And the other one that I think is particularly relevant right now, for us to I think we could kind of end up here, is to talk about fall hunting seasons, since a lot of people are in theirs right now, and there's a lot of tradition for families that have participated in that, and some families even use it as an opportunity to get their Thanksgiving turkey. So figured we could talk about that as well.
Yeah, sounds good. What do you want to tackle first?
Well, I guess since we've been on the theme of turkeys and oaks and acorns, maybe we could start there. So I've gotten this question from a few people now. I think it's because this year seems to be a poor mast year.
Mm-hmm.
And someone from Missouri, someone from Arkansas, someone from Alabama, and someone from Georgia, I believe that's all the states, has asked me a similar version of this question. So I'm going to ask it to you, and then we can start there.
Mm-hmm.
So what should we be worried that there's a mast failure? Is that of concern for turkeys, and what are they doing if they don't have mast to eat in the fall and winter?
Yeah, man, that's a broad question.
I know.
But clearly, what they're eating instead of acorns is corns.
Some of them kerns. Oh, man. I knew we couldn't get through this without you going there.
You stepped off into that one.
Immediately, I thought he's going to say feed.
Yeah. So,
well, that's true, though. I mean, over a large portion of the eastern range for sure.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of them are eating that even when there are acorns.
No doubt.
They're still eating that.
No doubt. Yeah. Um, Thinking about alternative foods for turkeys during years of acorn failure. So I think about grains. So
Mhm.
particularly the warm season food plots that produce a grain used by turkeys during the fall and winter.
Mhm.
So soybeans
Some
that are left standing.
some sort of energy dense seed.
Which I understand that soybeans are not a grain, but they're a legume. But if soybeans are left standing, turkeys will make use of soybean seeds throughout the fall and winter time. Grain sorghum would be another good one. Corn. I'm not talking about pouring it out of a bag onto the ground. I'm talking about corn crops. And then let's see, chufa can be another one.
Mhm.
A lot of people love to plant chufa for turkeys. I have mixed feelings on it because a lot of times places that I see that plant it in the South, with a lot of those places have heavy clay soils, and if you don't
Mhm.
practice any kind of follow up management, they can't access a lot of that. Um, they can make use of clovers. Cool
Mhm.
season clovers would be a good one as well. And then, thinking about all of our native legumes that produce seed. So we've got, some of those plants we've talked about before within the context of they contribute to early successional plant communities that are used by broods. They can actually produce seeds used by fall and winter too. So like
Mhm.
our desmodium, our beggar's lice, our partridge pea, our ragweed,
Mhm.
butterfly pea, and there's several species of that. We got spurred
Yeah.
butterfly pea.
Milk
You
pea.
got milk pea, lespedeza seeds, huge array of
Mhm.
different species under that genus Lespedeza. There's a lot of options out there.
Mhm. A lot of different
Specific
kinds of fruit as well.
fruits are available.
Mm.
Dogwood mast is oftentimes thought to be an important buffer crop
Mhm.
for turkeys during years of mast failure. So, that can be beneficial to retain dogwoods in areas that you're managing for turkeys, even if you're opening up that canopy. What am I missing?
Well, I mean, they're certainly eating some insects as well, but I think there's all kinds of seeds and vegetation
Yeah.
out there, like you're saying that uh, that they use. I think the problem that I'm now, I guess, after some of our previous conversations, I'm a little more cognizant of is not that there's a food limitation, but when that's coupled with a harsh winter.
Hmm.
Like Dr. Van Gilder brought up from their stuff in southern Missouri, I think is where he was talking about, where they had the mast failure that happened to be during that really intense winter,
Hmm.
and birds just outright died.
Yeah.
That's a pretty concerning situation.
Sure.
That is very different than them having to fast or being a little light going through the winter on food and surviving it,
Yeah.
which could have consequences to reproduction or something down the road, but at least they're not dying from it.
Right. But surprisingly, we don't have really any documentation of that in the literature.
Right.
So as you and I just discussed during that hardwood management and biology episode series, there's not even a single article out there that I could find that links any aspect of survival, much less body condition,
Hmm.
to mass crops for turkeys.
Yeah. I can't believe that. We've got to do that.
Intuitively, it's got to matter. I just
Yeah.
can't see them not coming out of winter in better body condition during a good acorn year.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree, but we just don't have that much literature to stand on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on from that. I think we've talked about that at links various times now.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on, since we're on this topic, one thing real quick based on an
Okay.
email conversation that I had with Tyler Morlock. He's apparently one of our our avid listeners, I hope that's an accurate description, Tyler. But he's a forester in Ohio, and he has some experience working at Indiana State Nursery.
Mm.
And he sent me some information that was produced from that nursery about fertilizing oaks that they grew there.
Oh, cool.
And I'm not going to go into all the details because, this isn't the focus of this episode. We're kind of just like, I guess, kind of shooting from the hip on some of these topics that we want to reflect on in this episode. But my take home from reading that article, and I shared it with you, is that the way that they were fertilizing those trees was that they were applying much higher rates of fertilizer than are typically recommended, and they were titrating it with like increasing amounts of fertilizer being applied at different periods, or not at different periods, but throughout the growing season. And I read through it, and obviously that's not my specialty. And so, I didn't have as deep a understanding of it as a lot of people may have, but my take home from it, or my takeaway from it, and the question that I posed to him, and he wasn't sure about it either, is that maybe we're not seeing a response in acorn production from fertilization because we're not applying enough fertilizer and we're not applying it at the right time. Obviously, in that nursery, their goal was to get those trees big quickly.
Yeah.
So they weren't measuring anything related to acorns. They were just looking at growth. But
Yeah,
just the fact
I was
that
going to add that's pretty consistent now across many sources that fertilizing young oaks in particular does increase growth rate. I don't think there's much, but my response to that is sure.
Yeah,
that absolutely could explain it.
Yeah, but we always have to kind of put this back into context, right, and circle back. And I think that, just based off of that protocol that I read that the nursery was using, is something that's probably not very practical or affordable for people to do at scale on a large property managed for turkeys.
Right. And especially for what you're getting out of it, which is an oak maybe producing more.
Yeah, but I think it could be really valuable in a situation where maybe a landowner has a stand that's been high graded in the past, right? So a lot of the oak cut out of it is what happens a lot of times in the Southeast, and then you're left with a lot of the mesic species, which hopefully people will understand that. I'm not going into it. We've talked about it before. But maybe they have a few, oaks hanging on here and there, and they're all small. I think in that situation, it would certainly benefit them to fertilize and get some diameter on those trees.
Release them, fertilize them,
along with releasing them. And get them to that production age as quickly as possible. In that scenario, I would support it. Yeah.
Well, it's probably not going to hurt anything, but we're trying to make sure that you're doing things that have a practical, known outcome.
Yeah.
And we're not sure if that one does or not. Okay. Well, that was a good add-on to this. I think, surprisingly, I haven't gotten many more questions about the fertilizing stuff. So either people aren't interested or we've covered it fairly well. I'm not sure what is.
They've had enough.
Yeah, we're done with that. So, okay. Well, what do you want to move on to next?
Fall turkey hunting.
Oh, yeah. Let's do the predation real quick.
Well, then why'd you ask me what I wanted to move on to?
Well, because I forgot. And then soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, that's not right. It's the predation. No, I don't want to end on the predation.
Yeah.
So, but I think we should devote a lot of it to the fall hunting because it's about tradition, and we're at a time of tradition. So.
Yeah, now I know how my kids feel when I ask them what they want to do, and I'm like, no, you're going to bed.
No, that's not going to work.
Nah, you're just going to bed.
My bad. I should have never asked you. Okay, well,
it's been a while. It's been a while since I read this study, so you're going to have to break it down.
Okay. So Jordan Youngman, I think you've been around him a fair amount, haven't you? The grad student?
Yeah, I think I've spoke to him on a few occasions when he was starting his coyote related work. Maybe he do
Okay.
some coyote related work?
Yeah, that's what he was doing at UGA.
Yeah, because I did some coyote genetic work in the context of fawn predation a while back,
Yeah. So
and
he did a very similar thing, and
yeah,
that's what the study just was published recently, and I think I made a post about it actually the day we're recording this. So
yeah,
when people are listening, if you're interested in seeing this housed, I put together a reel that kind of puts the figures and everything from the study into it, and kind of gives you an interpretation of it based on what I thought when I was reading it. But yeah, so this paper. So well, let me back up. So I've known Jordan since he was in his master's program at MSU Deer Lab,
okay,
and that was probably 2016, 17, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's been almost a decade at least. Really, really great guy, really intelligent. Now he's working on his PhD program. I don't know exactly where. He may have even finished by now. I'm not sure.
mm-hmm,
With the UGA Deer Lab,
mm-hmm,
and he was uh, he was working in South Carolina.
mm-hmm,
And the point of the project, as I understand it, now this is from someone that's just heard from it, secondhand. But my understanding is that he was collecting scat from coyotes in particular across multiple sites in South Carolina with the intent to genotype the culprit that laid the scat.
yeah.
So which predator
So
was it?
you're
And
telling me
then
he's a fellow poo guru?
yeah, he told me he's found a few gloves in there. He's genotyped at least 4 or 5 humans. No, he's not told me any of that. Only you.
He's
That's
smarter than
still
I was.
you still stand alone on that. The purple glove, that classic. I hate you don't have a picture of that. So anyhow, he not only genotyped the culprit, so determine if it's coyote. It turns out
The culprit.
it turns out he also got some fox and bobcat. And
Yeah.
in this paper, he reported those as well, but they're small sample sizes because the point of the study was for coyotes.
Yeah.
But I found it really interesting, but for a different reason, which I think our audience will all appreciate if they're listening to us on this. They were looking at they used DNA, barcoding to figure out all of the prey species that were occurring in each scat that they sampled,
Mm-hmm.
which was together almost 200, I think, samples.
Yeah.
Uh, but one of the items that they were able to determine is turkey.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the point of the study, but they do have turkey data in it. And I thought that was really interesting because we've talked about this problem
Yeah.
in the past. A lot of turkey just got lumped in with bird,
Yeah.
and they had it separated out.
That's
So
nice.
I thought that was really interesting. So have you
So
looked at the results on that?
I have, but it's been a while. But I can't help but think that when you say DNA, DNA code, what was it? DNA
Barcoding.
meta barcoding? Is that
Yeah,
what it
meta
is?
barcoding. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just picture somebody sitting in the lab, like one of those little Walmart scan guns, and they're shooting the turds as they go by.
Just like scanning it.
And it just pops up on screen. Turkey, deer. Just ring them up.
Are we there? That's where we're at. I can't help but think about them going down that conveyor belt, and one comes through with the little finger of a glove sticking up out of it. Human.
Or you put
Man.
one in a bag, and it tells you that you didn't scan it, and it tells you to start over, like take the objects out of the bag because the weight's not right.
Man, you got to type in the code here. Well, I think we probably have a fair amount of our audience that have no idea what we're talking about right now. So if you're one of those people, go back to an episode in the Predator series from early in this podcast.
Yeah.
and listen, we talk about your experience, Will's experience, doing this kind of work, and a couple of follies during that work.
Foibles.
Oh man. So, okay. So you don't remember how much turkey showed up in those species?
There was more in foxscat, wasn't there?
I want to say that it was like, well, let me just look at it. I got the numbers right here. I would not put much stock in the bobcat and fox scat.
Yeah, because the sample size was
Stuff.
so limited.
Yes. Yeah, so they had 153 coyote scats that they used the mtDNA fragment analysis thing on. 20 bobcats, 7 gray fox.
Okay.
So I wouldn't put much stock in the percentage on it, particularly the gray fox, because just one would be a relatively high percentage.
That's right.
But what it did do is confirm that turkeys do show up in their diet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. The bobcat's a little more reasonable with 20. Yeah, so all 3 species consume turkeys. For bobcats, it was about 5% or so of their diet based on the graph I'm looking at. And for gray fox, it was about 14 or 15% based on what I'm seeing this bar. I can't see the number, but it's over 10%.
Yeah.
But again, that might just be one of the 7 for gray fox. So I wouldn't put much stock in that. But gray fox apparently were eating turkey.
Right.
At least one did. We don't. This approach, let me clarify for folks, this approach does not take into account what sex or age it was. It also doesn't determine whether or not it was killed. We don't know if it's predation or scavenging. And they did do this during the spring and summer, or early summer, mainly spring during nesting, brooding, breeding time.
Yeah,
for
but there could have
turkeys.
been hunter harvested carcasses.
Sure.
That they were scavenging too.
They could have scavenged that. Certainly 1 out of 7 could have been that,
Yeah.
So I don't know if a gray fox killed a turkey, but I don't think that it's that far-fetched to think that they could.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think that I'm saying more than what the data actually tell us. It just tells us turkey was in the diet. We don't know how that turkey died.
Yeah.
But it could have been from predation or not.
But if a fox came along and a hunter threw out turkey guts and the fox ate the turkey guts, it would pick it up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the values of this approach is it's a really good way to determine whether or not it occurs in that sample.
Yeah.
Which we would not necessarily get with any of the other ways we've done this in the past.
Yeah.
We'd need feathers or something like toenails, those kinds of things to confirm the turkey because the other parts are so digestible. Coyotes, I think it's the number on that one is probably a little more solid in terms of this is the frequency at which turkeys show up in the diet.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your guess?
30%.
Nope. It's about 9%.
9%.
And they actually had 3 sites, and they had a fairly good sample on each of the 3 sites, and that was consistent.
Okay.
It was right around that number. Yeah, so I think that's probably pretty consistent. So let's think about how to interpret that. What they actually did was determine what proportion of the ones they sampled contained turkey.
Mm-hmm.
So,
9 out of 100 was consistent.
Yeah, 9 out of 100.
But here's another important thing to keep in mind as far as how many birds does that actually represent being consumed by coyotes. You could have a group of 3 or 4 coyotes kill one turkey, and all their scat is going to have turkey in it, and that's just right. One bird.
Yeah, we definitely can. What's the word?
Extrapolate.
extrapolate. We cannot extrapolate this to how many they're killing on the landscape, but it is telling us that they are aiding them fairly regularly.
Yeah.
I suspect some of that is predation.
Yeah. Stands to reason.
Yeah, and the field evidence from the GPS studies, I would say, corroborate that.
Yeah,
We
and
have
I mean, we get
plenty of examples where we think coyote killed the individual that stagged.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing that. We just don't know what the population level impact of that is, particularly, for adult predation. But we get those trail camera pictures all the time of coyotes chasing turkeys or killing turkeys, and I've never had a decoy attacked. I don't really use decoys. And I
We've
haven't
seen plenty approach them. I have.
Yeah, I haven't used them in a long time, but I hear stories from hunters all the time that they do.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty quick and dirty rundown of that new study. We'll link it in the show notes. And again, if you're interested in kind of seeing the visuals on it, I did put together a reel on Instagram. I think it's on Facebook as well. So
cool.
You can go look at it there if you want to.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Did you release that today?
Yeah, I did that today. Earlier today, yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's move on to what you wanted to go to, which is the fall hunting.
Yeah.
So we have gotten a number of questions about fall hunting and why we're allowing it and whether or not that's detrimental to populations. Why would we let any hen be killed? All kinds of things like that. I think it's overwhelmingly been negative. I'm not sure that we've gotten any feedback that was positive. Have you? About the idea of a fall season?
I have seen some social media comments, not that are more just kind of making general suggestions that that people are concerned about fall seasons being taken away, and it's an important, long-standing.
It's about opportunity.
Yeah, and it's about it being an important tradition to them.
Yes. Well, I think that's what we wanted to focus on. We're not prepared to go in detail on what seasons look like in different places and harvest rates. And we have talked about that some on the air in the past with a few people that have been in states where that's common.
And we have much less experience, to put a disclaimer on this, with understanding fall seasons and how that plays into population dynamics, because we are not in states where fall seasons are a huge tradition. I mean, does Florida allow any fall hunting?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, Alabama's got some select counties that do, but it's not widespread.
Yeah, and I would say it seems like in the mid-Atlantic up into the Northeast, it's much bigger part of the tradition there.
Yeah,
of hunting, and it seems like out in the Midwest in some places that's pretty common as well.
Yeah, I always think about Pennsylvania and Virginia for some reason. I feel like I hear the most fall hunting stories from there.
Yeah, those two come to mind for me as well.
And fall hunting seasons for me weren't something that were much, if at all, really on my radar, honestly, until we started this podcast. And my perspective has shifted a lot as I've interacted with many more people that come from areas where that is an important tradition. Along with that, I've been, over the past year, working through a lot of the Tom Kelly books. Everybody's read 10th Legion pretty much, but he's got like 10 or more books. And there's several of those where he spends a good bit of time talking about fall hunting. And I'll be honest with you, it really is tempting to try.
Yeah.
It's something that it's completely different and sounds like it'd be really fun.
Yeah. I think I would enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy pretty much every other kind of hunting, and I certainly enjoy hunting behind a dog and pointing birds and flushing them and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I would. I've never participated in a fall hunt for turkeys, where that was the principal reason I was hunting. I have been in a couple of places where I could take a turkey, and I've had a couple of chances on a hen, and I chose not to take that opportunity, and I would have with a longbeard, but didn't get the chance. But I think that's one thing, given it's Thanksgiving, and this is a tradition for a lot of people. that is an important consideration that we should think about. Based on what Larry Van Gilder brought up, he actually was doing some population modeling focused on that
Mm-hmm.
historically. When we had Mary Jo here from Pennsylvania, multiple scientists that we've talked about in places, it's such a small proportion of the harvest
Mm-hmm.
usually, and very, very, very low hen harvest in general. Uh, that typically dominates what we talk about, but I think we should take a step back and think about the tradition of it. And it may not be impacting many people or taking away many harvests by taking it away, but for the people that is a tradition in their community or their family, it certainly could be negative impact if it was taken away. So
Yeah,
I can
maybe it doesn't
understand that.
impact that many people, but the ones it does impact, it does so profoundly.
Yeah. Well, there's other kinds of hunting like that. Like there aren't that many people that quail hunt anymore,
Right.
but the people that do, that is a really important part of their entire lineage
Mm-hmm.
in many cases. The same thing with dog hunting for deer. Oh no, people are going to be emailing us about
You
this.
went there.
Well, a lot of people don't like it, but
Yeah.
the people that are dog hunting families, I mean, that is a community, and that's a really important part of their identity and their
Mm-hmm.
how their community operates.
Yeah.
And I think that's important,
Yeah.
for us to think about, especially since we're thinking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to give a fair and balanced perspective of this, I think, I don't know how many of our listeners have been listening to us long enough or um, all the episodes to pick up on this, but we did have an episode with Coulter Chitwood where we talked about, hen harvest being in some senses unacceptable in these days when we're seeing population declines and, that hen survival can be so important in those population
Hmm.
dynamics models. Um, so I don't know. I guess I'm not denying that that's a truth. I'm just saying that I feel like we should be looking to make all harvests sustainable,
Oh yeah,
especially
I agree with that.
as scientists, biologists, and managers. We should be looking to try to make all traditional game harvests
Hmm.
sustainable, however whatever that means. And so, if it boils down to we need to collect more data to figure out how to sustainably retain fall hunting seasons, then that's what we need to do.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some frustrated folks about that. A lot of people seem to just want to get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, and to me, I think that is in part, at least for me, is stemming from the fact that hens are often the thing that the
yeah,
most vulnerable,
yeah.
and I, and I,
It's hens and
I can,
jakes.
yeah, I can understand why, especially in places where turkeys are struggling, why that would be a problem.
Hmm.
I get it. Well, uh, we're going to revisit this subject and go into detail on it, and
Yeah,
try to go into the biology of it, but we're not going to do that now.
yeah.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Got family coming down, so
Oh,
yeah, it's been a tradition for the past few years, where so I've got we're kind of like our main Thanksgiving crew is my family, my sister's family, and my parents. Traditionally getting together, and unfortunately, it used to be centered around my grandparents' house, but my grandparents have passed. My
mhm,
last grandmother passed away about a year ago,
mm,
and that's where that was kind of our hub. So now we've got we're kind of creating a new hub, new traditions,
mhm.
and so generally we have it at my parents' house in South Carolina every other year, and then on odd years we have it down at our house because my dad comes down and I take him to the Iron Bowl.
Oh,
So the
there
Auburn
you go.
Alabama game, yeah, yeah, which is funny
Yeah.
because Dad grew up. I can't believe I'm talking about this on the air. Dad grew up an Alabama fan, and um, didn't, he just, liked the team, grew up in Alabama, did not have a direct link to the university. So it took him some time, but, he said, Auburn University is putting food on the table for my grandchildren, not University of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So now he wears blue and orange when we go to that game, and I'm proud of him for it.
Well, good for him. My family, on the other hand, told me there is no way that I'm pulling for Florida. And they stand by that. So I'm planning to go up to Alabama. I have a tradition like you're saying, where our extended family all get together at my uncle's, and then got some forest stand improvement on the docket.
Nice.
So I've got about 10 acres worth of stuff I want to get out there and get done. So.
Yeah, I'll probably hit the tree stand a few times, and I haven't been planning on killing any does this year. On our club, we get a few a year just to to meet our harvest quota, and so probably plan on my wife harvesting one or two, and maybe taking my dad out and letting him get one, and I'll probably sit somewhere and see if I get lucky and kill a buck. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm just
Sounds good.
I'm just not mad at deer anymore,
Well, I'm gonna get in the couple houses with my kids and see if we can't see some.
Yeah, well, I'll do some sits with the kids too. Yeah. My daughter's not going to shoot this year. I've been entertaining it, but I think she needs one more year, and but she loves coming along too. So that's a good thing about it, is when you don't care as much about killing a deer anymore, it makes it much less stressful to take the kids.
Yeah. I'm really about the experience and being out in nature, and I've already got some meat from this year. I killed a doe earlier this year, so it's really going to be about Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And so after Thanksgiving, hopefully we'll be back to y'all with a episode or two. Maybe, I don't know, we haven't really talked about it, but maybe take a little break over the holidays for a week or two with episodes. I don't know if we'll get all those filled, so that might be our first gap. But I can guarantee you,
I think it's warranted.
Yeah, I guarantee you, though, when the new year comes around and people's minds start switching back to turkeys and, put the calls back in the truck and start warming up, we'll be back at it full bore. Yep.
All right. Well, I hope everybody out there, hopefully you're having a great Thanksgiving, and hope you're getting to sit on a deer stand and think about turkeys.
Absolutely.
Spend some time with family and friends.
Yeah.
Enjoy some turkey.
Maybe even harvest a wild turkey for Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, how American is that?
Yeah. I will say, if I kill a turkey in the spring, it is not going to make it.
That's right.
To Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So the fall season may be needed if I want to put a wild turkey on the table.
I'll tell you what, though, I do have a half of a turkey breast left in the freezer from spring, and I don't know if I want to share it with family or not. But I might. I was thinking about making some fried turkey nuggets as an appetizer. We'll see.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Yeah. All right. Enjoyed it, man. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody out there. Appreciate all the support, and hope to see you, I guess, next week.
That's right. Wild Turkey Science is part of the Natural Resources University podcast network and is made possible by Turkeys for Tomorrow, a grassroots organization dedicated to the wild turkey. To learn more about TFT, check out turkeysfortomorrow.org.